Podcast. 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 Yeah, welcome to the Racer X Exhaust podcast brought to you by Yoshimura. I gotta be fast. I'm Jason Weigandt. I'm headed to the airport. Anaheim 1 is here. Press day at noon Pacific time Friday. It's going to be awesome, going to be amazing. And the always unpredictable season opener, which has provided crazy upset winners about half of the time, which I don't think you can say about any other Supercross race. By the time, let's just say we go halfway. Just think of Daytona. Rarely does someone win Daytona that makes you say, what? What? I know Brayton did it once, and I know that Ricky Ryan did it once as a privateer, but most of the time, look, like Eli Tomac wins it a lot, okay? And like Villopoto won it a lot, you know? But Anaheim 1, dude, we have seen some crazy Anaheim 1s, and maybe we'll get another. But I got to be quick because I got to go to the race. This is all brought to you by Yoshimura, 65 plus. We might be at 66. Years of four-stroke research and development. Go to yoshimura-rd.com. You'll see the exhaust systems on the JGR Suzukis, the Geico Hondas, the factory Hondas. It's going to be looking very good this weekend. So check out the Yoshimura pipes and buy some for your machine. And also the new issue of Racer X. Go to racerxonline.com/subscribe. I believe there's still time, actually, for our calendar promotion. You could still get our 2020 whole shot calendar. I know your phone has a calendar in it, but you're not going to hang up your phone on the wall and stare at it every day. The calendar looks cool. It's a whole shot edition, 12 different killer whole shot picks through the years. So go to racerxonline.com/subscribe. Subscribe now. Get the calendar for free. You'll have it like the first week of January. Don't fret. You'll have 12 months still to look at. So that's it. I don't want to get right to this. Zach Osborne is our guest this week, the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna rider. You might have read some of this interview that I posted on Racer X Online earlier this week, but that was only about half of it. We get a little more in depth in this one. Zach is an absolute sleeper contender to win races. I don't know. The title? No one was picking Cooper Webb really last year. If you just said to yourself, I picked Cooper Webb, you're a liar. Look, some people thought Cooper Webb would do well. I even talked to Ricky Carmichael about this. He was on the Cooper tip. He said he will do well. He did not say he will win the title. I don't think anyone was picking Webb. So, hey, why not Osborne? Now, by the way, in our season preview shows, you can just type in Racer X Supercross preview and watch them on YouTube. Mathis asked me the odds that Osborne would win a race this year, and I said around 20%. That sounds horrible. But I'm just being realistic. Even Anderson didn't win a race last year. Even Roczen didn't win a race last year. It is difficult for any rider to win a race. I'd say it's 50-50 odds that any rider in any given year, you're always a random torn ACL away from not winning any races. Marvin Musquin, not going to win any races this year. So 20, I was just trying to be real, not because I'm a hater. But let's see how Osborne feels about that. And that'll start our interview. I gave you a 20% chance of winning a race. Did you see that?
I didn't see that, but that's kind of par for the course. I'm surprised you didn't give me 10%.
I probably shouldn't have told you then.
It's okay.
Look, I'm just saying, dude, there's a lot of good riders. Any one rider winning a race. Anderson didn't win a race last year. Kenny didn't win a race last year. It's hard, dude. Okay?
Anderson did 2 rounds.
Either way, he did not win a race. You never know. You never know. He didn't win a race.
I know.
Last year, we heard you were flying at the test track. Then you got hurt. We saw it for one race in New Jersey. It was really good. Are we going to get that Zacho? We only got a 1 race sample size, but do you believe you can be that Zacho that we heard about and saw one time? What do you think?
This is the actual question?
This is an actual question. Do you think you can be that Zacho that we saw once and did hear about, but it got messed up a little bit?
Yeah, I believe I can be. I mean, I believe that I'm actually maybe in a better place now than I was last year pre-injury.
Wow.
There were some other factors that kind of attributed to the slow start even when I came back that, you know, are neither here nor there now. But at the end of the season, the last 2 races were really good for me, but that was on a completely different package than what I was riding prior to that. So I think that we figured a lot of things out right there at the end, and pretty much within millimeters of that exact same thing going into this weekend. So I feel really good about where I'm at as far as my bike goes. My body is awesome. 30's the new 20, and here we go.
It's weird too, because I'm going to assume these changes that you made that helped you those last two races, it's not like anyone would walk up to the bike or you or notice it. These are probably small things that add up to be a huge difference. That's the way this normally works at this level.
Yeah, and I mean, that's exactly right. It's a game of inches. I think the difference in winning and 8th or 10th is tenths per lap. So percentage wise, that's very low, like less than 1%. Better than first and 10th. So to me, we're always searching that fine line, and I'm more of a find a setting that I like, ride it until I'm 100% positive of every move it's going to make, and then we can kind of tune from there on the weekends. And I feel like I have something that's really, really, really good right now, and something that I can go racing with and feel 100% confident on.
Now that's cool that you have that feel that looked good last year, but do you ever get worried that, but what if everybody else jumped up? Because we've also seen dudes go from year to year, not change things, and have it backfire. You've actually done it successfully a few times, but do you get worried like, what about everyone else? What if they've stepped up?
Yeah, 5 years ago I would have been really concerned about that, but in the last year or 2 years even, I've come to kind of realize that there's a level that you reach kind of in the off season where it's just easy. And I think when you have that feeling and you have that level in your arsenal, that it doesn't really get a lot better than that. And I think that you can kind of squander that pretty quickly when you start moving things around and whatnot. So for me, it's more of just finding that level of comfort. And I think that Husqvarna has done a really good job of finding that for me also, and just bringing me to a place where I'm 100% confident in what I have.
I'm glad you mentioned that maybe 5 years ago that would have spun you out a little bit, because I do feel that one thing you probably have on your side, you haven't even really had a ton of podiums, say, in 450 Supercross yet. So for a lot of guys, that'd be a leap. I wouldn't feel that for you it's that big of a leap mentally to be like, oh my gosh, I have to race these guys. I have to battle these guys. Do you feel like you've been able to skip some steps as far as getting used to the competition or the class? Because I don't feel like you have to worry about that as much as some other riders. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at some point in my career, I've raced all of them except for like Chad and only Chad basically.
Yeah.
I've been around as long as everyone else or longer.
Yep.
So at some point or another, I've raced all of them. And like I said last year, kind of coming into the season, I don't really have those years to kind of rip a couple years off and just kind of throw them away. I need to be on the point and on the pace basically straight from the get-go. So I feel like I did that kind of at the end of Supercross, and then outdoors was really good until my little mishap where I missed Red Bud, and then I had a lot of really good results. But I think that's a huge part of me being able to kind of miss some of the pitfalls of the beginning stages of a 450 career.
Still, though, there's always that level of nervousness that everybody has, even in darn C-class local racing. And then Anaheim 1 is always crazy, too. So there's still going to be some level of nerves, I would think, for the opener, right?
For sure. I mean, I'm probably one of the most nervous people on the line every time. And
Wait,
I
what?
think that,
you're the veteran, bro. Seriously?
Yeah, but like the throwing up stories and all that.
Oh yeah.
From the from my past or whatever. Yep. But I think that at one point it definitely hindered me, but now it's come to a point where I actually feel like it benefits me because I'm so nervous all the time. Every race is my A1, so it's just another race. So I can kind of spin it in a positive light, if you will. Sometimes that being nervous is okay, and I think that often it keeps me sharp. Like I even get nervous sometimes during the week. Like I have to face the champion of Supercross last year on a daily basis. So sometimes I get nervous about that. I mean, he's a really good rider, and we have a lot of heavy motos during the week. So yeah, there's nerves for me all the time. So I think that it used to hinder me, but now I've come to a point where I can kind of embrace it and use it as a positive energy.
It always shocks me how well you guys then must be able to mask it, because I feel like when I see you guys at the races, you're pretty much acting like normal people when you're probably not feeling normal. But for the most part, I don't know if that's you just push it away. Maybe it helps you to try to act normal, to try to block it out. Are you putting on a little bit of a, I'm trying to act relaxed, but I'm actually nervous inside? Is that actually the way it is on the day of the race then? Because I didn't even realize you were like this.
Well, I mean, yeah, yes and no. Racing is just, it's like now, especially for me after 15 seasons, that it's what's natural to me. So I'm okay with that. You know, I'm not, it's not an act or a front. It's me just kind of having learned to embrace it, or it's my normal, you know, it's just who I am, what I do. And there's no nerves about it really, or no act about it. It's just what I do. You know, I'm nervous and it's race day. It's a big deal.
Okay, so yes, you mentioned what everybody likes to talk about. You ride with other really good riders. Is everybody cool? Is anyone taking each other out? Can anyone look at each other in the eye, or we got big problems? How has that gone? We have to ask this question. How has it gone?
Yeah, well, it's just been me and Coop in Florida, and then Jason's been doing his thing here, and then obviously, unfortunately, Marv's been injured the off season. But yeah, Coop and I have kind of become really good friends over the past year, and we've developed a good relationship, a working relationship, and even a little bit of a personal relationship, which is quite cool for me. And I think that whole thing is, of course, there's been some drama at times when things are, you know, when the pressure's high and the chips are down and it's time to get nitty gritty. Like it gets a bit tense. But this off season, I've had definitely the most fun of any off season I've ever had. Enjoyed kind of the whole thing, and I think we're in a really good place to go racing and in, you know, fitness, riding, everything. It's just a nice feeling to be healthy, and it gives you a little bit of extra incentive when there's somebody in the suffering and suck with you on the days that are tough. You know, it's motivating to have somebody. So I think that there's a huge portion of that really, it motivates me, and also it's just comforting.
Well, no, okay, I think I know what you're saying. If you were on your own and you were suffering and it was hard, would you be a little nervous of like, man, is this level of work easy for everybody else? Am I the only one that thinks that's really hard? Is it almost refreshing to be like, okay, it's definitely, this would be hard on anybody. It's not just me who thinks it's really hard right now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, there's when you're by yourself, you know, things are going good, but you're also always wondering what everyone else is doing, or what their speed is, or whatever. And when you have somebody that's as high level as the guys that we normally have, or the guys that are there on a daily basis, it's a bit of a comfort in knowing that, you know, as long as you do the work and you really go after it every day, you're going to be prepared, and you're going to be in the mix.
And also, look, I think the reason that people get out of hand and think there's no way these guys can exist during the week and race on the weekend, I think the reason is you guys know that what happens on Tuesday and Thursday doesn't necessarily mean this is what's going to happen on Saturday. I've seen it, and you see it every day. Like, the races, it changes. It doesn't mean like, dude, if I was slower than him on Tuesday, I'm screwed, I'm done, I hate this guy. It varies a lot. What I've seen is that help a lot to ease that.
The thing to me is like, there's so much emphasis on just a good start at this point.
There you go. Yep.
And like over the years of this whole program, for me, like there's only been like one or two times where anyone got into it or anything on a Saturday, because like really what are the chances of both guys getting out the front and having to, you know, run into each other or whatever the case is. So to me, that's a huge factor. Like I can check my ego at the door, go there every day and work alongside someone who I have to race on Saturday, because, you know, it's down to me to execute a good start and go out there and do a great moto, you know, and vice versa for the other person. So to me, there's a lot more factors than just what happens during the week. It's so much down to 20, 22 or 23 minutes on a Saturday night. Like that's a totally different ball game than what happens on Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, look, I know you're a hardworking guy, and I think you embrace the work. It really means a lot when I hear someone like you say, dude, they're suffering. I don't think you don't want to work. So give me an idea. Is it just that the level is, no matter how badly someone might like to work out or train or ride, it's even gnarlier than that? Because I would assume to get you to feel like it's suffering, it must be pretty darn bad.
Well, the one thing that I think, even me as a younger guy, I always thought that it would get easier, or like for guys who were winning, it was easy or whatever. And there are times where, some of my main event wins in the 250 class, or, the nights where it goes really well and you have a gap and you got the start and everything's perfect. Like those days are easy, but those are not the days that you work hard for. Those are the days that, just happen every now and then. The days that you work hard for are the ones where you're like 5th place on the start and you've got a, it's kind of a worst case scenario deal. But the thing about it is it never gets any easier. It just, your ceiling goes further and further and you're able to go faster and faster. And that, it's not like, it's, I'm ready to go. I can just do 20 laps at 150 heart rate. You can just absolutely send it into oblivion for 20 laps and know that it's going to, the last laps are going to be tough. It's always a progression of lifting that ceiling and just getting more and more fit and more comfortable at those speeds. And it's a tough thing. I mean, it never really gets any easier.
Yeah, and does the training load adjust too? Like, if you're fitter than you were 3 years ago, does the stuff you have to do then just get harder to match your increased fitness so it feels just as hard? Does that work that way? Well,
I wouldn't say so much the training gets harder, but it's just one of those things where the riding, you just can go harder and harder and deeper and deeper. And, that in that sense, it gets harder. You get more fit, and then you can go faster, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, okay. So it's literally the riding, and can you even put a watch on that, or is it just intensity? It's not that you're doing more laps or anything different. Is it just when you're just riding harder than you would have been before? Yeah.
I mean, yes, pretty much. That's the gist of it. I mean, like I said, you always think that it's going to get easier, or when you're supremely fit, it's going to get better. But there's always just that next thing. Like I don't know if you saw, but a guy broke the 2-hour marathon mark this year, and like no matter how much he trained, that was never going to be an easy feat. And now it's like, well, can he do 158? He did 159. Can he do? But that's just sport, and that's progression, and who we are as people. Like just searching for the next thing and the next feat, I guess you would say. And and that's one thing that's kind of one thing that makes it fun for me still, is just chasing the ceiling, like chasing how good I can be or how fit I can get, or what I can do in the sport as a racer. Yeah, what I think is interesting about you is some riders, when they work this hard and it's so serious at the level you're at, they have to continually remind themselves, oh wait, this is a dream position, enjoy it, try to have fun with it. I don't know if you have to remind yourself of that. I think that you know exactly what you're signed up for. I feel like you do enjoy it enough where you don't need to tell yourself, oh wait, it's good. Do you find yourself having to remind yourself at times to keep yourself happy and motivated, or is it all pretty much come as one like happy package for you, the work and the enjoyment? It's kind of one package deal for me, but I do see other people in the sport that this is the position we dreamed of being in, and there have been moments in my career where I was like, man, like this is hard, or I have to do this interview or this obligation or this whatever, and you do lose kind of the appreciation or sight of that, and that I have had to step back and kind of remind myself that. But I think just the success that I've had over the past couple of years, and also my family, just the life that we're allowed to live from this sport, really just motivates me still a lot. And I enjoy riding. I enjoy going there every day, and just like I said a minute ago, kind of finding what I can do, or where the ceiling is for me as a racer and as a person, as an athlete, all those things.
I wish we could get guys like you. I always say that 26 to 27 to me is kind of a magical age where everyone starts to get that level of perspective. You guys should hand out business cards to the younger guys when they get that burnout stage, which is like mid to early 20s, and explain what the other side is like. Because I feel like when we get to guys your age, late 20s, everyone's happy. Everyone enjoys it. But it's before that where that seems to happen, which is odd. You have more miles on you, but you're more into it. You should channel some business cards and maybe give some guys advice and be like, no, trust me, in 5 years, you're going to be glad you're here.
Well, I mean, it's kind of it's an odd position because, there's a level, like even I went through it, especially like in 2015 and 2016, where I was really, really close to like winning races and making that that jump to where I did in the end in 2017. But those are some of the most frustrating times because you're so close. You've been a podium guy. Like in the beginning, you just want to get on the podium, and then you do that a couple times, and then you're a solid top 5 guy, podium every now and then. Then you get on the podium consistently, and you're a podium guy, and then you want to be a winner. Then I kind of went through that for 2 years where I was so close to winning, and even Coop and I have talked about it a few times. Like there were some wins that I was so close to in 2016. Fell with like 3 laps to go in San Diego, and I was right behind him. I led like half the race. I think he passed me with 3 laps to go in Santa Clara that year. Led the whole race, and like it was so close, and I was getting seconds. Like at one point in my career, I would have been so pumped on a second, and I was like most frustrated about it. It was one of those deals where I have had this conversation with a few people. Like you just have to keep it in perspective that at one point you would have killed for that second place, or been so pumped to be on the podium, and then the next thing is you just want to win, and then you get frustrated with getting a podium but at some point you would have been so pumped on that, so it's all about that balance and the way you see things, really.
One last thing for you. I feel like you're just a general fan of the sport, and maybe that also keeps you going. I know you'll ride anything and race anything. Did you always feel that way, or does some of that come with this perspective of, hey, this is a dream opportunity I have, I really need to embrace it? Or do you feel like you've always been this level of fan of motorcycling, or did that come later in life?
Later in life, for sure.
Oh, okay. Yep.
It kind of came... I actually covered this in my last Shifting Gears podcast, if you want to give it a listen.
Oh, is it out? I'll give it a plug. I'll give it a plug,
tomorrow.
Dude. Tomorrow, okay.
No.
All right. Gotcha.
But it kind of came when I went to Europe and kind of rediscovered the sport, really, as a fun thing. I had been a kid from 10 years old, a kid with a factory ride, and kind of that pressure to perform, really. And when I was able to go to Europe, I found an awesome group of guys that like love to go racing, and it was almost weird for me in the beginning when I first went there, where I was like you guys are like so pumped on this, and it was totally different than going racing with the team here in America that I was on, or even anything that I had experienced in a long time as a kid. Like they were just so pumped to go racing, and it was with those guys that I kind of rediscovered, or maybe even first discovered, to be honest with you, at 18 years old, like what it was all about, like enjoying racing and just kind of how blessed and awesome it is to do what we do, really.
Is this partially because, look, you were a good American amateur. There's a nice American system for good amateurs that almost makes it easy to take stuff for granted because it's all going to work out. There's like a whole roadmap right in front of you where this is all going to work out, you and other good American amateurs. Do you think that they have a different perspective because there's nothing to be taken for granted? They don't have this system, so to speak. Does that help?
You mean Europeans?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And I think that it's more just, it's maybe not as much that way now, but, say when I left there, even or definitely when I got there,
Yeah.
it was more just like pure racing. Like it was more like grassroots almost. GP guys talked to other GP guys. We rode at the same tracks. We stayed at the same campgrounds. Like it wasn't so taboo to be
right.
Friendly, if you will.
Yep.
And I think that it's just a different deal. It wasn't as cutthroat. I mean, now it is. I think getting that way just with the training and the level that those guys are on right now is incredible. So I know that they're doing a lot of work, and when that sort of work goes in, it changes the dynamic a little bit of things. But for sure, there's a little disconnect somewhere, back to your question, in the system that we have here.
Yeah, I just think it makes it, you lose that grassroots perspective when you essentially have a factory deal and you're getting parts and mechanics and tracks to ride. I just wonder if that takes a little of the luster away, because it almost, what is a dream situation almost becomes normal. So the little things like, hey, I get to go race today. Yeah.
Not only normal, but it's like you have to have that.
Yeah, you do.
To a certain extent, like if you want to go pro racing, you need to be on that program when you're like 12.
Sure. It sure seems that way. Right. So by the time you're 20, you're probably not you're no longer pumped to get some parts sent to you in a box in the mail. It's kind of old by then.
For sure.
Yeah. So unfortunately for you, I probably told you this, you unfortunately probably had to go through all these struggles to get to where you are. It wasn't just going to happen any other way.
And I don't know that it would have happened any other way, just because of the way things went. Like, I don't know that I could have, I mean, most likely I would have not gotten a ride in 2009 anyway, so it would have been over. But even then, if I did, like, I don't know that I would be racing today or in the position that I'm in today, just because of, the way things have unfolded for me, and the perspective that I have, and the place that I'm at with, my racing and who I am, and all the things that factor into it all.
Yep.
It may not have ever even happened if I had stayed here and gotten a ride. I don't know that I would have been as successful as what I am now.
Yeah. That's it's kind of like the training thing. It would have been nice if it was easier, but it doesn't ever work out that way. It's actually worked better for you that it was harder. It's like the training.
It has. Yeah. It has in the end.
Yes. Okay. Can I ask the standard? Any expectations for Anaheim results? Anything like that? Like, do you even have any, or do you just go race?
Yeah. I mean, I have some expectation, but at the same time, I don't want to put. I don't want to say like I want to get on the podium, because I feel like that's almost, in a sense, setting a limit. Or if I want to get in the top 5 or whatever, I want to just go there, execute what I've practiced, and I know that it'll go my way. I know that if I go there, put in my best effort, do a good start, it's going to go good. So I think the main thing for me is just going there, keeping it light, staying focused on myself, and really going out there and executing what I've put all the work into to make happen. So as far as expectations, yes, that's my expectation. I expect myself to go there and do my very best, put in my very best effort, and the result will be what it's going to be, and we can work from there.
I don't think any rider has ever said prior to the first race, I'm going to finish here. It's just crazy to do that. I know fans want some trash talk or predictions, but yeah, you'd be crazy to do that. If you said podium and you get 4th, then you'd be bummed. Or if you said podium and you didn't win, you'd be like, oh, maybe I could have won if I aim higher. Like, yeah, it's just... I know that people get frustrated that every rider says what you just said, but I feel like it's the only way you could. If you put a number on it, isn't it almost guaranteed that you're going to disappoint yourself?
Well, not only that, but like, I feel like personally, like if I go there and I'm like, all right, I have to get on the podium, and say something happens and I don't get a great start, then like the whole time that's distracting me, because I'm, falling short almost, Yeah. So to me, there's a little bit of that expectation kind of, and feeling bleeds a little bit of mistake if everything doesn't go perfectly. So I try to just kind of lift those barriers and, go there with a good attitude and an open mind and try to execute what I've practiced for.
Yeah, and I think most people feel that way, but I just knew you'd be one of the few that could actually explain it. So I appreciate that. You explain. Everybody, they have a press conference every year, and the fans are like, why didn't this guy say this or that? And I'm like, dude, because it's too much of a load to put numbers on things and all have it in one race. You know what's going to happen. You got to let it all average out over 17 weeks. Yeah.
Exactly. It'll be what it's going to be the first weekend. It's the age-old cliche. You can't win it there, but you can lose it there and all that stuff. And it's true, really. I mean, it's one of those things you just have to know going in that you have the right setting and you've done the work and you can just go out there and execute.
All right. Hey, thanks for the time. Get back to the family, I guess. Is it family time now?
Sure. They're actually standing at the door looking at me like, what the heck are you doing in your truck? But it's okay.
Okay. My apologies.
I'm sure for a fellow podcaster, they'll allow this.
Are you done here? Are you saying this, or could there be more? What's your deal?
No, I'm done. Shifting gears for this year.
Okay.
At least, and then like I said, I'd be willing to co-host some stuff or whatever. But it's hard to get everything lined up every Friday, which is typically when I do it. So, I'm super pumped that I did it, and I can say that I did it, and all that stuff. And huge shout out to Steve for the idea and the use of his network and everything. I think it went pretty good, for an experiment.
Yeah. So you still like it? You like doing it? Maybe you'll do it again. Who knows?
Heck yeah, I like it. I had a blast doing it, and got a little bit better towards the end. I struggled in the beginning with just rookie kind of stuff. So it is what it is. But I did enjoy it.
Well, if you see me try to ride a Supercross track once, you'll know you're better at my job than I am at yours. So there. Well,
I came to the conclusion that you were always bashing me because you were threatened by me because I could do your job better than you can do my job.
Oh, 100%. Like the greatest Christmas gift I got was finding out you're not going to do this next year. That was the greatest.
Okay, as long as you can admit that, I'm happy.
If the riders can do everything we do, like we barely do anything. If you can even do that, we're done. It's time to just hang it up and start living in a cardboard box because I won't be able to make a living anymore. Just think about that.
I am impressed with the amount of articles you crank out in a week on RacerX, so that's pretty impressive.
All right, I do appreciate that.
Sometimes I click on this and I'm like, surely not Weege again. Like, oh yep, Jason Weigandt, 9th article this week at 3,000 words.
Yeah, I am. We are working on that to be like, you realize we have a lot of people, a lot of departments, but the main thing we do, which is content, I don't really have. Like the percentages are not on my side here. All right, get to your family. My apologies.
No, not at all.
All right, you're awesome for this, and I guess we'll see you Friday.
All right, thanks, dude.
All right, man. Yep, see ya. Good luck. Bye. Yeah, hey, let me just give Zach's plug one more time. Go to the Shifting Gears podcast. Type in Zach Osborne or Shifting Gears or both into your search on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. Although he's not going to do it this year, he had a whole year's worth of pods, and they're a good listen to hear Zach talk to other riders. Obviously, he has good access, and they're pretty honest with him. I really liked his Cooper Webb one was really good, and Caleb Russell one from GNCC. I thought those were exceptional. So check out the just Zach Osborne Shifting Gears pod, and his final episode, which I believe he posted yesterday, Wednesday, or maybe Tuesday, was questions that audience members had sent in to ask him about his career. So just a plug for Zach. Always a good guy. And I'm out. See you at Anaheim. Thanks to Yoshimura, yoshimura-rd.com. That's our title sponsor. And, of course, thanks to racerxonline.com. That's what keeps the lights on when we do these podcasts, so support us. See you at the races.